Hi everyone, Renee here. This video is going to be all about acne. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about the different types of acne that we get, or the different stages of it, and then the 5 most effective over-the-counter ingredients or treatments that we can use to treat each stage or each type. And most importantly, what we can use to break that persistent cycle of breaking out. Of course, there are going to be cases where OTC treatments just will not be enough. That's when we really need to seek out a dermatologist to just further evaluate exactly what's going on and perhaps explore some more prescription treatments. Acne treatments is such a broad marketing term. We're used to seeing the ingredients that are used to treat acne, although how you use them can make all the difference. There are certain ingredients that work really well at treating non-inflammatory acne, but may not be effective at all at treating like the deeper, more cystic acne. And sometimes we're using ingredients that are just way too strong for the kind of acne that we have. And so we are unnecessarily damaging our skin, compromising the barrier of our skin, and just really making everything worse. Some ingredients are fantastic for just breaking a very continuous and persistent acne cycle, whereas others are really good at just preventing and maintenance. So hopefully I can shed some clarity on what is the best to use when, and also I'll be sharing with you some of my favorite formulas. When I'm experiencing a bad breakout, the priority in my skincare routine is to clear the skin first and to decrease inflammation. Everything else can take a back seat. So if it's skin brightening, if it's hyperpigmentation, all those treatments can come later once my skin is clear. It's a time when I just really want to simplify things to the only actives that I am using are ones that are geared towards just breaking the cycle and clearing my skin. All other needs or issues or concerns can come later. So let's start off with comedones, which is a non-inflammatory form of acne and really is kind of the precursor to anything more serious. We know these as whiteheads or blackheads. They're small, they're not inflamed, they're not really painful, they're just annoying. These are formed when there's just a buildup of dead skin cells and sebum around the hair follicle. Whiteheads are closed comedones, so they are kind of sealed and everything is kind of like blocked inside the pore, whereas blackheads are open comedones. So basically the sebum, the dead skin cell buildup, everything is exposed to the air and then it oxidizes, which is what gives it the black color. These are easily treated, can go away pretty quickly, and are preventable. What we don't want is for the buildup to be excessive, for there to be a bacterial infection, and for inflammation to occur, which will escalate these comedones into more serious acne. Which leads us to inflammatory acne, and that's what acne is. It's an inflammatory skin disorder. It's easily distinguishable by, red, swollen, and painful bumps. Mild inflammation is when you just have the red bumps on the surface of your skin. Moderate inflammation is when there is pus that you can see on the surface as well. And as we all know, pus is a sign of infection. In this case, when it comes to acne, it is the acne-causing bacteria that's causing the infection and the inflammation. The more severe inflammation is cystic acne, which lies deeper under our skin, and they're usually these really painful, in my case, pulsating lumps. These are a lot more difficult to treat because topicals that work on the surface of your skin, like dead skin cells and sebum, won't really be able to affect the deeper layers of the skin where the cystic acne is formed. Usually these require a more intensive program, and they do actually take a lot longer to go away, and they have the potential to leave scars. Severe and persistent forms of this type of acne require more than what is offered over the counter. Hormonal acne is pretty much what I get, so it's more of an intermittent onslaught rather than just a continuous or steady one. The telltale sign of hormonal acne is that it appears around the jaw area. For me in particular, it's around the sides of my chin. The breakouts tend to happen during a certain time of your monthly cycle when your hormones either are dipping or surging. But also for me, particularly for the last few months, I've noticed I've been getting a lot of hormonal acne that is just exacerbated by stress. The stress hormone cortisol can also create imbalances in our hormonal levels, which can cause breakouts to happen. Adapalene works well across the board on comedonal, inflammatory, as well as hormonal acne. In fact, it's one of the very few OTC treatments that are powerful enough to really have an impact on cystic acne as well, and just really breaking that cycle. This really is for anyone who's going through a period of persistent breakouts, or breakouts that are just easily brought on. It requires persistent use over time for you to see results, but also it requires going through that period of retinization in the beginning. That period may actually mean that you're going to have a little bit more purging. Since one of the ways in which this is so effective for acne is that it encourages so much cell turnover. So in the beginning, that cell turnover is going to sort of bring out all that's kind of been, brewing underneath. Make sure in the beginning you do phase this in. Retinoids are very, very powerful. I have videos on how to do that, which I will put in the description box. You just want to make sure that the side effects don't end up being so extreme that you get completely turned off or you cause more damage to your skin, which is not what any of us need. In my retinoid journey, one of the most noticeable differences is that I stopped having hormonal breakouts. So I stopped getting those clusters of acne around my chin every month. The two brands available are different and La Roche-Posay. They are very similar in formula. I would actually recommend La Roche-Posay only because you're getting more for less. Benzoyl peroxide is another ingredient that is particularly effective at putting a stop to a very persistent breakout cycle. This is all about the obliteration of the acne bacteria. So this is not something that you would use on comedones. There are other treatments that are far more effective on dealing with whiteheads and blackheads without causing unnecessary irritation. If it's inflamed or infected, this is what you would use. And benzoyl peroxide does require some consistent use. Underlying acne also takes about 2 weeks to reach the surface, so you want to deal with that. You can get concentrations from 2.5 to 10%. I've always personally preferred the lower concentrations, and even Dr. Evan Reeder in my Acne Mechanica protective mask video did mention that 2.5 to 5% is a preferred concentration because you will end up having the same results but with a lot less irritation, and also it's not just gonna, stain all your clothes and towels and whatnot. I also mentioned in a previous video about the actives that you can and cannot use together that benzoyl peroxide is one of the very, very few ingredients that have problems mixing with other actives, namely ones that oxidize very quickly, like vitamin C and vitamin A. The good news is a lot of the newer retinoids are very stable, like Adapalene. Adapalene is stable enough that you could use it together with benzoyl peroxide. Vitamin C and benzoyl peroxide, I would definitely separate the two. I personally prefer using it in a cleanser form because not only is it really effective at getting rid of that acne bacteria, but also it won't interfere as much with the rest of my skincare routine or skincare actives the way a leave-on gel would. Leave-on treatments can also have the tendency to be more drying and harsh on the skin. It can possibly cause irritation, whereas I find that the cleanser is just a lot more tolerable. However, I have been using this one from CeraVe. Yeah, that's how I pronounce it. I'm not saying that's the correct way, it's just hardwired. Their acne foaming cream cleanser with 4% benzoyl peroxide. So due in no small part to the fact that I've been wearing face masks for long periods of times, I'm talking hours, I start to break out in areas that I just have never broken out in before, namely like around my nose area. Those are really painful, by the way, and also down my nasal labial folds and also around the chin area. So a couple of times a week, I will actually use this to cleanse my face, especially when my skin is just feeling so congested from wearing a mask for a long time. This is actually a gentle cream cleanser. Other than the 4% benzoyl peroxide, there are no harsh ingredients in here. There's no stripping soap or detergents or sulfates. This barely foams. There's no fragrance or anything, and true to this brand, it's full of ceramides. It's got hyaluronic acid in it. It's also got niacinamide in it. This fits in really well in my cleansing routine, and it really works because I feel like none of my zits have escalated further than they need to, and they just kind of go away within a few days. If you do decide to use a gel, my favorite is this one from Replenix, 2.5%. It is fast absorbing, it's quick drying. You spot treat it as the last step of your routine, so over your moisturizer, over everything. This is something that you should use consistently, but I personally don't think it needs to be every single day. Very much in the same way that I use retinoids as well. I think you can be consistent, but you can alternate. Sulfur is another effective acne ingredient. This is something I would recommend if your skin can't tolerate benzoyl peroxide. This is gentler. It's not gentle, but it is gentler than benzoyl peroxide, and it works particularly well on comedones. This is really effective at absorbing all that excess oil that is plugging up your pores and hair follicles. This also really helps dry out the dead skin cell buildup in your pores as well and just gets rid of that. It's also antimicrobial, so it really helps in the comedonal stage to prevent the comedones from escalating and getting inflamed and infected. For leave-on treatment, I like Wish Trend's Sulfur 3% Clean Gel. This is definitely a gentler alternative. It doesn't turn my skin red or inflame it in any way, which really would defeat the purpose, but I feel like it's actually even hydrating. A good BHA or salicylic acid treatment should be a staple in the routine of anyone who has just very oily skin, easily congested skin, or acne-prone skin. It's kind of a fantastic do-it-all treatment, but particularly important for prevention. Salicylic acid, which is oil-soluble, is fantastic at just getting deep into our pores, clearing them out and keeping them that way. It helps prevent the buildup around our hair follicles, but also this is an exfoliant as well, so it gives you some skin resurfacing. The other major thing is it has analgesic properties, so BHAs are anti-inflammatory. Anything that squelches or reduces an inflammatory response is exactly what you need. There are a few ways in which you can incorporate salicylic acid into your routine. There's an abundance of options. If you find it particularly drying on your skin or harsh, then you can always use a cleanser again. The CeraVe, which is a 0.5% salicylic acid, or the Inky List 2% salicylic acid. I actually prefer the Inky List one. I feel like it works better, but also it's a bit stronger, but it's just as gentle. Another non-leave-on flash treatment option would be right after cleansing, you could use a mask. I really like this one from The Ordinary. It uses a 2% salicylic acid, but it also has charcoal and clay in it as well. I like the way this mask is sort of on the thin side. It's very spreadable. You don't need a lot of it, and it never hardens or feels like it's really drying out your skin, but it does work. I like to use this actually over any area that I have blackheads. I actually really love using these Peace Out acne dots. I put them on underneath my mask so it can be covered and treated at the same time. That's actually really helped. These have 0.5% salicylic acid as well as vitamin A. It's got antioxidants, and it also has aloe vera, so it really does treat those areas and prevent them from getting worse. My personal preference for a leave-on treatment is a BHA toner, specifically Paula's Choice 2% BHA liquid exfoliant. This was the formula that really kind of opened my mind to BHAs again, because prior to that, every other treatment that I used was really drying, always mixed with a lot of alcohol. This, on the other hand, I not only find to be gentle and non-irritating, but it is so hydrating, almost too hydrating. It's quite heavily hydrating. This is a multi-purpose formula that I bring out to use regularly during the summer, because not only does it just treat my skin and keep my pores clear and leaves my skin really decongested, but it also deeply hydrates. So I don't need additional hydration on top of it. In fact, there are many humid hot days where I don't even need extra moisturizer. It turns out that the humectant in the formula is what helps it penetrate the skin better and just work more effectively. If you want a less heavy alternative, then their clear regular strength is pretty much does the same thing. Just an aside, one that I think is relevant, but one of my favorite acids is mandelic. Mandelic is a gentle AHA, so it has all the properties and does all the things an AHA would do. It does the resurfacing, brightening, it's a humectant, but it's also oil soluble, so it can actually get into the pores and do some of the work that BHAs do as well. It's like an all-in-one. So recently, I have actually been really liking this from Geek and Gorgeous Cheer Up. There's 6% mandelic and BHA liquid. So 6% mandelic is gentle, and this contains 1% BHA as well. It's a thin, watery texture. I get no irritation when I use this. There's no tingling for me. There's no redness, but yeah, this works. Niacinamide, which is just a superstar ingredient, all around is fantastic at preventing and treating acne. Just being one of the most potent anti-inflammatories, it's so good at keeping redness at bay or just calming redness down or any kind of inflammation down. But it's also fantastic at controlling the overproduction of sebum. So I've made no secret of the fact that my favorite is the Paula's Choice 10% niacinamide booster. The combination of niacinamide together with zinc PCA is like a dynamic duo for anyone who has very oily skin, very easily congested skin. Zinc PCA also has antimicrobial properties, which really helps prevent the formation of acne bacteria. Otherwise, for me, the combination can be a bit drying, but would work really well for anyone with combination to oily skin. My favorite serum, though, that combines niacinamide and zinc PCA is this one from Medik8. They're Clarity Peptides with 10% niacinamide. This also has peptides in it that just makes your skin just look so youthful, smooth, soft, even skin toned, and just velvety. This is just sort of like a next level version of the niacinamide and zinc PCA combination. The texture is the next level. It's just really beautifully luxurious. It's milky. It absorbs immediately. It is so hydrating. For me, this was love at first application. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you found this helpful. And as always, I'm wishing you great skin health. Bye.